All right, here we go. What's going on, y'all? We're here with our Riverside Youth Podcast. I got two of my friends with me. David is very scared right now. David, say hi to everybody.
Hello, world.
Cory, say hi to everybody.
Hey.
Hey. We're here. We are chilling. These two I invited on the podcast. Why? Couldn't tell you, but I will say this. Cory's podcast is still number one viewed. Cory, Mackenzie, the two words she said, and then Derek's weird outfit that he was wearing because he didn't know he was going to be on the podcast. I'll let him know I shouted him out. That is still the number one viewed podcast. So I figured, why not bring the celebrity back that started it all? Because we know it wasn't Derek. We know it wasn't Mackenzie because she said two words. And Cory was the one that said the story. He gave a story, and it was pretty encouraging. And then David's just the added extra, honestly. I'm not going to lie. So he was just added into this because I felt bad for him because he's never been used for anything else other than just being my right-hand guy on Sundays and following me everywhere like a lapdog.
I'm always like behind the scenes. I'm not in front of the camera.
You can get behind the camera.
This is weird.
I
usually am.
You're usually behind the camera. Well, now you're in front of the camera. You're about to give the best wisdom to the students of Riverside Community Church. So I hope you're ready.
And anyone else on Spotify.
And anyone else on Spotify that listens, probably the one person that listens on Spotify. So anyway, well, we're here. But before we jump into today's topic, I want to ask you two some questions. And I want to see if we can embarrass you.
Okay.
I have not thought about this, so I'm going to think about it right now.
I don't embarrass easily, so.
What question I want to ask you. So here's the thing I'm just going to let you think about. What is your most embarrassing moment? What is something that you have done that was so embarrassing? School, home, job, who's got something?
I'm trying to think. I feel like I've done a lot of stupid things.
I mean, I'm putting you on the spot, so.
I was, this was not too long ago, actually.
Oh, shoot.
I was taking Josh out to lunch.
Oh, it's me? Why do you think it was me?
And, so I was showing him the new truck I got, and it's lifted. You can, like, not see over anything. And as I was pulling out of the parking lot, I was on the phone with my mom, so I was a little distracted. I was sitting there talking, and apparently just like this little random, what was it, a Prius, just popped up, just spawned in next to me as I was lane changing. They just were there. So I about ran them over.
You literally almost killed an old lady.
Yeah, and then Josh was like, hey, there's a car there. So I swerved back into my lane, and then I proceeded to run over the curb on the next turn at the red light.
Like a white girl.
That is true. And then I said after that, why would you buy a good truck if you can't drive it?
I was still learning. I haven't hit a curb in 2 days, so we're
2 days? I had a curb yesterday.
The McDonald's
okay. We're pretty equal on that, so I hit a curb out every other drive I'm taking. So.
I'm not in the curb, so.
actually, if you screw up, you gotta pay like
You're being
$4 figures.
You'd be getting a new car if you hit a pothole or
I would be in more debt.
so, more dead to what you already are from buying your car. So what's your embarrassing story then?
I'm trying to think. I've done a lot of stupid things in life, so this is
Shouldn't be too hard to pick one.
just a lot of things, you know.
It's a lot of embarrassing.
I remember I was at my grandma's house, and she lived in the country at the time. She lives with us now. She had like a huge like grain bin because she lived on a farm, and my whole family was outside, and I climbed up the grain bin, and I almost fell, and my pants ripped all the way from my thigh all the way up, and my whole butt was out in front of my whole family.
Were you not wearing underwear?
No, I was. Okay. So it wasn't that bad, but yeah, I was kind of hanging there for a second. I was like, well, this might be the end for me.
Just chilling. This is my moment, everyone. I'm done. This is it.
Yeah, it was very embarrassing.
Letting the butt cheeks out. See, you can say whatever you want on this podcast. David would worry about what we would say. Just don't cuss and you're fine.
There's
butt cheeks. It's okay.
It's kind of like a solar eclipse. There's a whole moon.
His family really just loves seeing that.
Yeah.
So it's so beautiful.
It was like 90% of my family was there. Half of them probably haven't seen me since I was a baby, so they saw my butt again.
That's good. And so they're like, we're used to this, so it's like we haven't seen it before.
Well, it's just the same.
It's like I just did about 12 years ago. So I want to think of what mine was, okay? And this is, listen, I wouldn't give mine out because I speak all the time and I embarrass myself 24/7, okay?
At least it's not Michael's.
That is true. That is true.
Can't speak about that outside.
You're not wrong. So, while you were talking, I figured mine. So, I feel like maybe I shared this before, I can't remember, but there was a long time ago when I lived in Arizona, I had the opportunity to raise a steer. Like the animal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right? I haven't done
Steer?
Steer?
I assume that was a horse. I don't know.
Anyway, cattle. Cow, I don't know, cattle. Listen, I'm not a farm person, okay? I don't freaking know what I'm talking about right now. A cattle, it was a cow, basically. And I had the opportunity to raise one because that's where we lived at, and our children's home, they had a farm, and you could raise cattle and take them off to wherever they take them off to and sell them and make money. And to be butchered, I don't know, very graphic, sorry. And I did it for a whole, 2 days. Because on the second day, what happened was I think I was walking my cattle or cow or whatever.
Your cattle was whacking you.
Just wait. And it wasn't, and listen, let me picture this for you. I look taller and bigger now. Back in the day, I was not tall and big. Okay? I was an 11 or 12-year-old kid, scrawny, white boy, blonde hair, looked like an idiot, glasses. Okay? Embarrassing myself. And thank you. And I was trying to get this big, huge, massive cow to move, okay? Did not want to, okay? And eventually, it decided to turn at me. I was terrified. And then it decided to ram at me. Oh. I ran. And I had to quickly, good thing I wasn't big, so when I was big, I wouldn't have fit through the fence. You know, like when you go to a farm and they got the steel fences, you know? I had to fit through that. Luckily, I was tiny, and it barely just grazed my leg. Ooh. Didn't really hurt that bad, but it was still funny, and it was still terrifying at the same time. And I left after that, and I never did it again because literally was the worst thing ever. Worst thing ever. So, my word of advice is if you're not a farm person, don't raise a cow or steer or whatever they're freaking called, because I can't tell you. So, never did it again. So, but I heard they make a lot of money. Once you sell it, you make thousands.
Yeah. They cost a lot to buy.
You make money, and you get whatever portions you make. So that's why I did it in the first place, but it was not worth the 6-9 months of raising that thing, feeding it every single day. Not doing that. Anyway, so that's my embarrassing story. That might even be my wilderness moment that we're going to talk about here in a second. So, as y'all know, we have started a new series. David doesn't know because he wasn't at church on Sunday. This is going to be filmed. This is going to be shown months later. It's not even shown till the end of June. So what's the date today? Anybody know what the date today is? So I can say May 29th. And David was not at church on May, 25th? So I just got to say the date because this isn't shown till the end of June. So I got to say the date so people know what we're talking about. Because they'll think it was last Sunday. They'll be I watched you were at church. Anyway, so David wasn't at church, so he doesn't know about the series yet. Really, he stole it on social media. Cory was there though, witnessed it. It was great. We started a brand new series. Talking about the wilderness season, talking about the Israelites. David, I'm going to give you a little recap. Talking about the Israelites in the wilderness, when they fled from Egypt and Pharaoh's rule. You know that story, okay? Good. I'm glad you know it because students didn't know that story.
40 days.
40 years, buddy.
40 years.
40 years. Don't worry. Yeah, it was supposed to be 40 days. That's what I got 40 years. Don't worry, I didn't put it up to us. 40 days or 40 years? Jesus was in the wilderness for 40
That's
days.
what it is. Okay.
Anyway, so you got it. Just a lot of 40, okay?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we started this new series. And so I figured for this podcast, we would talk about the wilderness season. But the specific topic I want to talk about is, I gotta look it up because I forgot again.
Nice.
God is working in the wilderness, right? See, I told you I'd forget. But I want to talk about this topic of God is working in the wilderness because, as we've been talking about this, a lot of people think that God doesn't work in the wilderness, right? So I want you to kind of lay the foundation for me because students hear me talk all the time, but maybe for you too. I know you just recently got out of high school. You've been out of high school for a couple years now, but to relate to this idea, I know for some of you, you've been following Jesus not very long. You've been in a relationship with Jesus for not very long. But give us some background, maybe a wilderness season you've had where you felt like God wasn't near, you were trying to pursue God, or maybe talk about when you didn't even know who God was. So dive in. I don't know who wants to go first. Who's got the wisdom for us? David Rios. First podcast. Go first.
So I was raised in the Rios family. Let's go.
Yes.
And
the best.
My dad was a youth pastor, so I was never not a Christian because I was always going to these random like conferences with like 18-year-olds, and I'm like 7, and I'm like, yeah, that's my best friend. And he's like, I don't know who you are. So I was just always around that environment, so I just kind of picked up on it. I wasn't ever like, obviously like everyone's had the moment where like, is God real? Like, does this exist?
Yeah.
But I never actually just stopped following, I guess.
Never stopped following.
Yeah.
Did you have any moments where you questioned, like you said, like you've had those moments, but have you ever remembered a moment where you actually questioned some things?
So there's definitely some times where I would question, like, if God is real, why is this happening? Or why, you know, like, to me, especially, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, so yes, there's definitely those moments. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cory, what do you think?
I'm trying to think. Okay, so when I never grew up in church, like David or a lot of other people that have, so I was never around church people until I was literally 18, about to graduate.
Yeah.
I started coming here in February of 2021 and didn't really know much or anything about Jesus at all.
Sure.
My family, my mom or my grandma was in a Presbyterian choir church thing.
Fire. That's amazing.
And that's like,
how to get it, bro.
yeah. And like, that was when I was like 6, still living like an hour and a half away from here.
Yeah.
And we had Sunday school, but the teacher would never show up. So me and my brother would just roam around the church and bother the choir people.
Can you imagine if we did that here? If we just didn't show up on Sunday?
I know. Just
all how we room.
That would be rough.
So we're not going to do that. But anyway, continue. Yes.
So like I never had like that kind of like foundation growing up into like adult, like becoming an adult, going out on my own and everything. But like I'm trying to think. When I turned 18, it was like I turned 18 in September 2020, and then February, I started coming here. I was literally a few months away from graduating, and I had no idea. Like I still don't know what I really want to do in life.
Yeah.
But like just being like realizing you're graduating and you have to like you don't have a daily thing to go to now.
Yeah.
You just like kind of just feel like, well, what am I gonna do? Like,
Right.
because I didn't want to really go to college just because I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to waste my money on college.
I don't blame you. I do not blame you.
College expensive, so
Didn't go either. So.
yeah.
The only reason I'm going is because my mom's paying.
Must be nice, David. Must be nice. Just kidding.
But like, and I was honestly struggling like as a student, like the last few months of school also, and like I just felt like lost just because like so many of my like friends like were going to like Bradley or like they knew what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Whether it was like for sports or academics or anything, and I just like kind of felt like that one guy that didn't know what he wanted to do. It was kind of like disheartening because you're like, dang, everybody else got their life figured out but me.
Yeah.
But it's just like that feeling of like almost like being alone, just because like all your other people are going places and you just think you just like get that voice in the back of your head where you're like, dang, you kind of like suck as a person just because like you don't think of yourself as like good enough because all these other people are going and probably going to be successful and everything.
Yeah.
And now like going through that and like starting to come here, like it's helped me like immensely. Like I never thought as myself as being like a Christian or a youth leader or anything like that. But like just being able to like just constantly like see kids like grow in the relationship and everything, like it takes me back to when I was still growing in my relationship.
For sure.
Like because like I see like kids that are like kind of questioning if like God is real or like going back and forth with like I want to go to church but like my friends don't, so I don't want to go. And it's like it's so nice seeing them like grow and grow and grow inside the church and taking that outside of the church, and showing other people and inviting other people that maybe aren't even their friends, but they invited them and they came.
Yeah.
And it's just so like relieving to me that like I can talk to these kids and give them wisdom, and they actually follow it. And because
they do follow it.
They do. Like they can say they do, but like, are they actually? No.
Yeah.
But it just like it gives me a whole different perspective on life. Like just being able to like see how I'm helping people that were in my position or that I was in their position not too long ago. Like the seniors are graduated or graduating, and they don't know what they want to do, and they don't know if they know God like I did. Because I came here and you know how I was. Like I was a stupid 18-year-old.
Stupid back then too.
Don't look back on the Instagram because there was a picture of me in a Tito's shirt. So.
There we go. There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
Look how far he's come. Look how far.
Yeah. I remember you called me stupid because it's like, dude, what are you like?
Didn't you wear it to church one day?
Yep, I went to it Wednesday night.
Love that. Love it.
Don't know why. I think I honestly forgot we were coming.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wait, I did not change.
Yeah, we don't care. We welcome you.
I think that got posted on the church's Instagram.
Probably.
Not even gonna lie.
I was like, we're posting this. Like, it's gonna be fun. So I want to know everybody's welcome, even if they drink. It's okay. And wear Tito shirts. Do you still have the shirt?
No, I don't. I don't wear one, honestly.
You got it. He got rid of it, ladies and
Lost in the move.
Lost in the move.
Lost in the move.
I bring it.
Burn the shirt.
But yeah, like just like seeing kids like kind of struggle and realizing I was that kid at one point and being able to help them because like I can relate to some of these kids like so well, just like with mental health, with like just even like their path and like their spirituality and everything.
Sure.
And like it's just it's just like heartwarming that like I can just help these kids when I was in the position not too long ago, and I'm able to like I grew through that and I can help them go through that. I can relate to them so well.
Man. And see, I think that's the best thing about a wilderness season. Whether it's growing up in a Christian house, because we still have wilderness seasons in that, or you didn't grow up at all Christian. You have no idea what church was until you were 18. Like, no matter what that is, it's amazing because the wilderness, it's a broad statement, right? But the wilderness is in terms of things that we go through in life, So whatever it might be, losing a loved one or going through personal things or battling an addiction or not knowing who Jesus is or knowing who Christ is and then trying to figure that out. Once we get through those things, it's amazing to see like what you talked about is to be able to then share those personal stories to then inspire other people to fight through that as well, right? And that's what you guys are, talking about. That's what you're talking about. So I love that. That's great. I want to talk about this thing that we saw on social media, or we did a devotion. I want to talk about it. I want to talk about that. Yeah, you did say that. I want to talk about it. So one of the things that was in one of the devotions a few weeks ago, right? It was today, but a few weeks ago, was this phrase: "God's silence is not God's absence." I love that, right? But I want to give the background to it because I thought I was reading it. It's a funny story. I was actually on the toilet reading it this morning. I love just embarrassing myself. I was literally pooping while reading that. TMI, you're welcome. But as I was reading it, was talking about this idea. We all went to school, right? Taking a test. This idea of taking a test. And when you're taking a test, you're by yourself. It's quiet. You're with a bunch of people, but it's quiet. The teacher's there. You can raise your hand, but they're not going to give you the answer, right? And this idea, and I never thought of it like this before, it's like that's like life, right? Is when we're in the wilderness, when you're going through a battle, when you're facing things, is you're taking a test, right? There's nobody you can ask for an answer because, yes, you can ask God for direction. He ain't going to give us the answer because he wants us to get through it ourselves. But I love that whole analogy. And what it said there was so cool is God's silence is not God's absence. He's with us. Like the teacher's with you in the classroom while you're taking the test. Yeah. Unless they're a bad teacher and they just leave and then everybody cheats, which I never experienced that, which I did. But
I have.
You have
in college actually.
That's beautiful. That's amazing. This just shows college.
I don't know if I should say that there. The professor goes to this church.
You probably shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
Who?
Tune and Tony. Good old Tony Jones.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, good for him.
The final exam, I just walked out.
He didn't care apparently, so go see him in college. So, but God's silence is not God's absence, right? And I think God is always with us, right? And that's the biggest thing I think we want to hit across this month, this series that we've been talking about. is that God is always with us. But I want you both to talk about, and I know you kind of already touched on it, you both kind of said a little bit, but think of a story or something maybe in your life where you thought God was not with you, but then you ended up realizing that he was. While you think, I'll go first, all right? So for me, it was when I think I've shared this before, for me it was when I was on ACE teams, and it was the first 3 months. ACE teams, by the way, was a year-long training program that I did to help me become a student pastor. Anyway, I did this 3 months of training where basically I went to school, which was annoying and I hated it. It was fine though. But for 3 months we lived here at Riverside, and it was like 5 other people, and basically we could do nothing or go anywhere except for like on weekends, or like not even weekends, it was like Saturday. That was our free day. That was the only day we could go do anything we wanted by ourselves. But every other day we had to be with this group, do stuff with this group, and if the group didn't want to go do something, then you didn't go do it, right? That's what we had for 3 months. And I had thought for sure that this is what God called me to. I still today believe that, but in the moment, for those 3 months, I was like maybe a month into it, and I wanted to go. Everybody was going to like the soccer game. It was like a high school soccer game. Everybody was going. All my friends were going to be there, and I was like, I want to go. I ended up asking the group if they wanted to go, and none of them wanted to go. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, nobody wants to go to the soccer game. And I couldn't leave. I couldn't just, like, get in my car and drive. I didn't even have my car here, so I couldn't go anywhere. And I remember getting so angry at this, because then we called our leader, and I was like, can I just go to the soccer game? And they're like, not if everybody else doesn't want to go. That moment, called my mom, and I was like, I want to quit this thing. This is so annoying. This is so dumb. It was happening over and over again where I couldn't do things that I wanted to do. I couldn't go where I wanted to go. I was isolated, and I was like, this cannot be what God has for me, because this is not fun. This is not working. This is not cool. It just felt like God was nowhere near. But now, as I continued, my mom, she encouraged me. She said, continue, just keep going, keep pushing through. It's going to be all right. We ended up getting through that phase, and it ended up working out, and it was fine. And as I look back on that moment, it was actually pivotal, because that was what trained me and taught me to kind of work my way into ministry, to be where I am today. And so even though in that moment it felt like that's not what God had for me, ultimately is where God was working. And so give me a story if you got one for real quick. We got a few minutes left, but just give me a quick story. You got something, Cory, go for it. What do you got?
So the first time I went to Thrive as a leader, was that like 2022? Like Thrive 2022 or something? I was still, I was still, growing in my relationship with Jesus and everything, just because I was still kind of new to being a youth leader and everything. And I remember just sitting in it was when we were like in the back area. Yeah. And I was sitting with Kenzie. We were dating at that point. I completely forgot about that, actually. But I was just sitting there, and I was just like, I don't know who was speaking. I think it was the guy that was speaking. I can't remember his name. Yeah. But he just said something, and I was like, I don't think, I was just thinking, just being dumb, that little voice in the back of my head, I don't think Jesus has his hand on me or anything like that. And I don't feel like I am really filled with the Holy Spirit or anything. I feel like as a leader, I kind of suck. Just because it was my first really few months of being a leader at that point. Yeah. And then I kind of just felt a really warm sensation throughout my whole body, and I started tearing up, and I was like, oh, this is weird. But then I just heard another voice that I never even heard before, and I know now it was the voice of God. Yeah. And it was just he just said you're where you're supposed to be, and I literally just I didn't full on cry but I was I had tears coming out of my eyes. Yeah. And Kenzie was sitting next to me, and I was I just wrote my notebook that I had. I said I feel him, I feel him in the Holy Spirit or something like that. And I was that's the first real holy crap this is real and everything because even as a leader I was still kind of doubting just because of my how I grew up and everything.
Tito shirt.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was just ever since then I was holy crap,
Beautiful, I love it. Yeah. David, what do you got?
I'm kind of in the middle of the lowest one I have right now, so we'll see where it goes. Mm-hmm. But I know that I read the devotional this morning, and that gave me a lot of encouragement. Yeah. That alone. So it was.
See, and that's the thing I love is 3 different stories. Mine was like 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Yours was like 2 years ago. Yours is today.
Yeah.
Where you're walking through it today.
Yeah.
And you're still here. You're still encouraging. You're still I love the 3 different perspectives we have. And so I love both of you. I'm so glad that you decided to join me. David, I'm glad you're here. I joke with you, but I'm glad you're here. You're not behind the camera. You are now in front of the camera. You're testing the waters. You're testing the waters. Maybe one day you'll speak in front of youth.
Probably not.
Maybe Cory one day. I've been asking Cory. I'm waiting for the day he says yes, because it's going to be great when he does. And when you do, it's going to be even better. So, sorry, Cory.
I did do staff app already one time.
That is true. Okay, maybe I just have to ask you again. Maybe I'm bringing it back. Maybe next fall. Very soon, Cory.
I got asked for the huddle and I told them no.
You did say no to me, which I appreciate. So, but love both of you. Thanks for being here. This is probably going to be the second most or first most viewed. So we'll see. We'll see if we break the record. But love you both. See y'all next time.
Peace.